Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going exploring some pretty fascinating stuff. Ancient wisdom, symbolism, secret societies, all that good stuff. Our listeners send in some excerpts from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Have you ever heard of this one?
Oh, yeah, it's an absolute classic, really a cornerstone of esoteric literature. Hall spent years researching all sorts of traditions, trying to piece together the hidden connections between them.
So kind of like a grand unified theory of ancient mysteries.
Exactly. He was looking for those universal threads that run through all these different cultures and time periods.
That's so cool. Okay, so we've got this treasure trove of esoteric knowledge.
Yeah.
What really jumped out at you as we were going through these excerpts?
Well, the thing that always gets me are the ancient mystery schools. These weren't just like secret clubs or anything, they were designed to guide people on serious journeys of self-discovery.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by those. What can you tell us about them? Like, what kind of stuff went on there?
Well, take the Eleusinian mysteries, for example. Even their temples were built with symbolism in mind, like the two-door design. It represented birth and death. Mirroring the two doors found in Zarathustra's caves, each door leads to a different realm, representing the soul's journey. It's like this built-in reminder that life is full of beginnings and endings.
Wow, so they were encoding these deep philosophical ideas right into the architecture.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What other kind of knowledge did they share in these schools? What were they trying to teach people?
Well, Hall relies a lot on the work of Porphyry. He was a philosopher who knew a ton about the Eleusinian mysteries. And Porphyry says they used all sorts of everyday objects as teaching tools, like black stones, gold spheres, circles, pyramids. Can you imagine being handed a black stone and being told it represents the formless divine essence at the heart of everything?
Wow, that's heavy. It's like they were taking these really abstract ideas and making them concrete. Something you could hold in your hand.
Right. It was a way to bridge the gap between the physical and the spiritual, a way to make these teachings more accessible and impactful.
Makes you wonder if we've lost something in our modern world by separating knowledge from direct experience like that.
Hall definitely thought so. He saw these ancient teachings as a path to understanding not just the universe, but ourselves. And he uses the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice as an example to illustrate this idea.
Oh yeah, Orpheus the musician who goes down to the underworld to get his lev back.
Exactly. And Hall interprets that descent as the search for truth. The music represents the harmony and beauty of wisdom, but Orpheus failing to bring Eurydice back, that shows how challenging and fragile the pursuit of knowledge can be.
And what about when Orpheus gets torn apart by all those women, the Ciconian women? It always seemed so brutal.
That's an important part. Hall sees it as the fragmentation of truth, how different interpretations and conflicting viewpoints can actually tear apart the very wisdom we're looking for.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But is there any hope in this story?
Oh yeah, definitely. The swan is the key. It's known for its elegance and its long lifespan, and it symbolizes the initiates who carry Orpheus's teachings forward, making sure the quest for knowledge continues despite the obstacles.
So even with all that fragmentation, there's still this thread of continuity, a lineage of seekers passing on the torch.
Exactly, and it's not just limited to one culture or time period. These myths and symbols, they pop up all over the place, like a universal language whispering secrets to those who know how to listen.
Speaking of mysteries that span millennia, let's talk about Atlantis. Did Manly P. Hall actually buy into the whole lost city thing?
Well, he starts with Plato's account, of course. The philosopher who first described Atlantis as this powerful island nation that got swallowed by the sea. But Hall takes it a step further. He wonders if Atlantis could have been the source of all these ancient wisdom traditions. He even connects it to later civilizations like the Mayans and Quiches. They all had sun worship, the cross, and serpent symbolism, all these similarities that really intrigued him.
So it's like he's suggesting this hidden connection between all these cultures across vast stretches of time and geography. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. And if we're going down this rabbit hole of ancient mysteries, we can't forget about the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid. These structures have captured people's imaginations for centuries. What do you think Hall uncovered about them?
I'm ready to be blown away. Lay it on me.
Yeah.
What did he discover about the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid?
Well, one of the first things Hall does is he challenges that idea that the Great Pyramid was just a tomb for pharaohs. He sees it as something much grander, evidence of this incredibly advanced civilization, maybe even predating the flood myths you see in so many cultures.
Okay, that's interesting. What makes him think that?
He points to the sheer scale and precision of the construction. Like, how could they have possibly built something so massive and complex with the technology they supposedly had? It just doesn't add up. To Hall, the Great Pyramid was more like a repository of ancient knowledge, a blueprint of cosmic principles encoded in its very design.
So it wasn't just a tomb, it was like a giant textbook. What about the Sphinx? What kind of secrets did he uncover about that enigmatic creature?
Hall was fascinated by the Sphinx, with its human head and lion's body. He saw it as a representation of Harmachis, the Egyptian sun god. He was particularly interested in the missing beard.
The missing beard? Huh, I never really thought about that.
Yeah, it's a small detail, but Hall saw it as symbolic of lost wisdom. And then you have those later additions to the Sphinx, like the steps leading up to it and the temple built right between its paws.
It's almost like those additions represent how history gets rewritten over time. You know how layers of meaning get added and obscured? Makes you wonder how many other secrets are hidden in plain sight, just waiting to be deciphered.
Exactly, and that's one of the main takeaways from Hall's work, this idea that the universe speaks to us in a symbolic language. It's up to us to learn how to interpret those signs. He points to the Bembine Table of Isis as a perfect example.
The Bembine Table of Isis. What is that exactly?
Imagine this ancient artifact covered in all these intricate figures and hieroglyphs. It's like a visual Rosetta Stone for Egyptian, Chaldean, and Greek theology. Hall believed it represented the threefold nature of humanity and the universe.
The threefold nature. What does that mean?
It's this idea that humans and the cosmos are composed of body, soul, and spirit. This concept shows up in so many traditions, from ancient philosophy to modern psychology.
So this table with all its symbols, it's like a map of existence.
Yeah.
A guide to understanding ourselves and the universe on a deeper level.
Exactly. And it's not just ancient myths and artifacts that hold these hidden meanings. Hall believed that the entire universe is a symphony of symbols. We're all players in this grand orchestra, whether we realize it or not.
Wow, I'm starting to see symbols everywhere now. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about alchemy. It's often associated with turning lead into gold, but I'm guessing Hall saw it as something more than just a material pursuit.
You're right on the money there. He didn't dismiss the literal aspects of alchemy, but he definitely emphasized the spiritual dimension. He saw it as a metaphor for the transformation of the soul, the purification of our base nature into something more refined, more spiritually potent.
So the alchemists weren't just messing around with metals, they were trying to perfect themselves, turn their own inner lead into gold.
Exactly. The alchemical process itself is really interesting. You have the heating, dissolving, separation, recombination. It's like a mirror of the challenges and triumphs we face on the path of self-discovery.
It's amazing how he connects these ancient practices to the inner workings of the human psyche. Did Hall explore any other areas where this symbolic language was at play?
Oh, yeah, definitely. One of the most intriguing examples is his take on Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, the playwright. What does he have to do with ancient mysteries and symbolism?
Well, Hall puts forward this really provocative theory. He suggests that Sir Francis Bacon, a contemporary of Shakespeare, was actually the true author of all those famous plays and sonnets. He thinks Bacon used ciphers and cryptograms to hide his identity.
Hold on, so Shakespeare was just a front. What evidence did Hall have for this theory?
He points to the lack of documentation about Shakespeare's education. Like, how could someone with seemingly limited formal training produce such incredible works? He also mentions how little of Shakespeare's handwriting exists, which fueled all sorts of speculation about his true identity.
So the secret teachings of all ages isn't just about deciphering ancient symbols. It's about recognizing how this language of symbolism permeates every aspect of our lives.
You got it. Hall saw it everywhere. In art literature, the structure of our own minds. He believed that understanding this symbolic language could unlock profound levels of understanding and meaning.
It's like we're surrounded by whispers from the past, by these messages encoded in our cultural DNA, just waiting to be decoded.
And Hall believed that by tuning into this hidden language, we could not only understand ourselves and the universe better, but also tap into a timeless wisdom that transcends cultures and time periods.
This is mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface. What other insights did Hall offer about the power of symbolism? Okay, so we've got this amazing decoder ring for understanding the world, but how do we actually use it? How do we take these ancient symbols and apply them to our modern lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Hall believed that symbols act as a bridge between our conscious and unconscious minds. By engaging with them, we can open up a channel to deeper levels of knowing. beyond just the rational and analytical.
So it's not just about intellectually dissecting symbols, but more about letting them resonate within us on a deeper level.
Exactly. He was a big fan of contemplation and meditation, encouraging people to sit with the meaning of a symbol and allow its deeper significance to kind of emerge organically. It's almost like active imagination, where you're not just passively absorbing information, but really engaging with it.
I like that. It's like those optical illusions where you have to relax your gaze to see the hidden image. Maybe we need to approach symbolism with that same kind of openness and receptivity.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, symbols can be multi-layered. A single symbol can have tons of different meanings, even contradictory ones. The key is to find the meaning that resonates most deeply with you, the meaning that illuminates your own unique journey.
So it's a personal process of discovery, not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's where Hall's interpretation of alchemy comes in.
Right. He talked about alchemy not just as the literal transformation of metals, but as a metaphor for spiritual growth.
Exactly.
Mhm.
While some alchemists might have been obsessed with literally turning lead into gold, Hall focused more on the symbolic aspect.
Hmm.
Seeing it as a representation of refining the soul, purifying our base nature, and transforming ourselves into something more spiritually evolved.
So the alchemical process is like a roadmap for personal growth with all its challenges and triumphs.
Precisely. And it's not just alchemy. He saw parallels in the Masonic rituals with their journey through darkness into light, the symbolic death and resurrection of Hiram Abiff. It's like we're all alchemists in a way, working to transform the raw material of our lives into something more meaningful, more spiritually potent.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And Hall believed that by studying these writings and rituals, those who came before us, those who mastered this art of inner transformation, that we could learn from them and apply their wisdom to our own lives.
Exactly. The wisdom of the ancients isn't lost. It's just waiting to be rediscovered, reinterpreted, and applied to the challenges we face today.
Wow, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I'm walking away with a whole new perspective on things. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap up?
Hall believed that the quest for knowledge is a journey without a final destination. There's always more to uncover, more layers of meaning to explore, so stay curious, keep asking questions, and always remember the most profound secrets are often hidden in plain sight, just waiting for those who have the eyes to see.
Beautifully said. A huge thank you for guiding us through this labyrinth of knowledge. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those eyes peeled for those hidden messages. You never know what you might find up.